What's the stupidest thing you've seen a grown-ass adult get angry over? One time a lady asked if she could skip me in line and I said, "Sorry, but I'm on lunch and need to get back." She turned to the person behind her and started saying, "Look at this fucking kid. Won't let me cut him in line because he thinks he's more important than I am." Right. I'm sure you have places to be, lady. What a prime situation to fart at the gym, and this guy was rotating between 3 machines. 2 of them were side by side and the third was a good 30 feet across the room. Monsieur, a single cycle took at least 20 minutes. I was eyeing one of his machines whilst I squatted. Finally I had nothing else to use, so I asked him if he was done. He looked up from his book, Tom Clancy, and said, "I'm using that." "Okay, wait your turn." Before I can even think to respond, a huge dude asks him if he could work in. The guy immediately smiles and goes, "Oh sure thing my dude," and the big guy gestures for me to use the machine I asked for and left. Dude looked so pissed. I kept thinking he would lean over and hit me with his book. Most huge dudes at the gym are awesome like that in my experience. They had to be small at one point in time. I appreciate them. The swole remember the small expired coupons that weren't redeemable because we no longer had the product. Sure, you had the product, you were just hiding it in the back. Ah yes, the fabled back room to Narnia or some shit. Like, how big do they think the back room is? Yes lady, we keep all of our merchandise in the back so we won't accidentally sell it. Worked in a grocery store. Produce section. Sometimes we got in green bananas. Every single time, somebody would ask if we had ripe ones in back. Why would we keep the ripe ones in back and the green ones on display? A roommate once cursed me out because I asked him to contribute to the house's petty cash fund, which would be used to purchase dish soap and toilet paper. You know, $2 a month for those things we all use. Long story short, this roommate opted out of contributing to the fund. He was asked by our other roommates and me to make his own arrangements. A few months later, our pipes clog, and we have to call a plumber. We were in a service corps and thankfully didn't foot the bill. Turns out this roommate chose to tear pages out of a book to wipe himself, and that contributed to the clog. ETA. The book was a gift from our service corps program, monsieur. We each received it when we moved into the house. It was about community organizing and redlining in Chicago. ETA 2. We found out about his DIY toilet paper because he came home, heard a plumber was present due to clogged pipes, and said, "It's probably because I've been using pages from that book we were given to wipe myself." Then he told our other roommate. Hugh looked horrified. Not to start crying about this. ETA 3. While in some cases ETA does stand for estimated time of arrival, it can also stand for edited to add. How cheap can someone be that they'd rather wipe their ass with a book than get some 2-ply? Imagine the paper cuts he could have endured. I will skip a few meals in a month to buy sturdy toilet paper to wipe my ass with. Ain't nobody trying to get a bare ass minimum, monsieur. Edit. I need to skip a few meals and get a bidet. Once had a woman send her 2 5 to 8 years old kids into the pop-up Halloween store I worked at with her debit card, so they could buy whatever they wanted. The son, of course, immediately has no idea where the debit card is. Calls his mom. Mom comes flying into the store, literally screaming at the top of her lungs that I specifically must have stolen it, because I was both the floor supervisor and cashier at the time. Told her there were cameras pointed at each register and I hadn't moved from my station for over half an hour, but I would help her look for it. She did believe me, and called the cops on me, because it was now an accusation of employee theft. Even though I was the only one accused, none of the employees were allowed to leave the building. It took the police 20 minutes to show up, way past closing. We were all miserable and we just wanted to go home. All I could do was apologize profusely. We couldn't even stand outside because she was there, standing directly in front of the doors. staring through the glass at us with unbridled fury. A single cop finally showed up and she already looked fed up. She took all our statements, looked over the CCTV, told the woman to deactivate her card and go to the bank in the morning. The woman finally left, threatening me the entire time, and the cop hung out with us for a couple minutes shooting the shit and making fun of the whole situation. Real chill lady. 10 minutes later, as the cop is scooping up her paperwork, the phone rings and my coworker answers. It's the woman. She found her card. It was on her kitchen table. She forgot to give it to her son. She tried to ruin a young 20-something's life, because she refused to believe she could be so careless with her own money, and didn't even think to check her own house first. She never apologized. Bitch. My first gold. Thanks. I dedicate it to that bitch and her tireless efforts to send a retail worker to prison. 2.0 for everyone asking why she even bothered to call. My memory is a little hazy. This was 3 years ago, but I believe she was trying to press charges and was trying to catch the cop before she left to tell her to forget it. The cop had definitely already forgotten it. An old boss of mine couldn't open his Kit Kat wrapper and so he headbutted a wall in anger. This was a large office. Edit. Thanks for the gold, kind stranger. PPL are saying there is more to this. There is. The guy had real rage issues. One time I witnessed him screaming down the phone at someone because it was a wrong number. A wrong number he had actually called. I haven't seen him in 7 years, but last year he made the local paper because he'd be caught by dark justice. UK pedo hunters. Trying to solicit sex off a 14-year-old girl. Break me off a piece of that fancy feast. Not having a specific toy. Hatchimals. In stock at the store I work at on Christmas Eve in 2017. We got those fuckers in almost every day, and they sold out within a couple of hours of being opened without fail. This bitch was having a full-on hissy fit because we ruined her daughter's Christmas. No, Tracy. You ruined her Christmas. It's not our fault we don't have any in stock at 5:30 p.m. the day before Christmas, you fucking space cadet. Ugh, this is the fucking worst. Do people really have this little awareness of the world? I was about to snap this holiday season at the number of people who were shocked we didn't have certain things in stock on Christmas Eve. It's even better when you see people bitching online, like Facebook Marketplace or even in the review section of Toys R Us when something is sold out and the customer hadn't even bought it, about how their only choice is to pay a ridiculous cost for the toy on the private market. And how dare the business do that to them? I remember one comment was a woman having an entitled meltdown, coronary over the fact that someone was forcing her to pay $200 plus for this toy that her kid absolutely needed to have for Christmas. GMAFB. Never mind all the people shitting themselves during that Build-A-Bear Pay Your Age promo that was held a few months back. People were losing their minds on the BAB Facebook page, acting like total assholes over the fact they couldn't get a teddy bear for $4 instead of the regular $12. Or $20 or $30, and demanding compensation. What the fuck? Lol, I love that. How dare a company do this to me? Attitude. 1. If they had it, they'd give it, and 2. You don't fucking matter, you idiot. LMFAO. Billions of us. Billions. No one in the world gives a shit if you don't get your toy. LMFAO. Or how much it costs. Welcome to capitalism, but don't like it, grab a picket sign. I answer 911 calls. One day we had a fatal car crash happen, and had to reroute traffic from the main road down a side road, then back up to the main road. A woman who lives on the side road called 911 asking why there was commercial traffic passing through her residentially zoned home. I explained there was a serious car accident on the main route, and that as soon as that was resolved, the detour would be removed. She continued to complain, very angrily, that the trucks going by her house were kicking up dust and pebbles into her driveway. and demanded we send someone to clean it for her. I said no, we don't do that. She demanded to speak to a supervisor. I got all her information. Then I told her he'd be along to speak to her in person after he was finished informing the family of the person who died in the car accident that their family member was dead. Then I hung up the phone. When the sergeant got there, she refused to come to the door and refused to answer the phone when we called her back. Edit. Thanks for the gold and the kudos and well wishes. Did not expect this to blow up the way it did, because she knew she'd get yelled at for abuse of the 911 system. A longtime parishioner made a scene before the morning service when she spotted a family sitting in her pew. As I noted some time ago, she insisted that the family move or that she'd leave the church and take her substantial pledge with her. To their credit, the family, newcomers to the church, didn't move and the woman left in a huff. Much like a child having a tantrum, monsieur. What a Christian-like way to welcome newcomers to the church. When I went to church, no one could understand why we couldn't keep new people. It was very obvious to me. They were extremely unwelcoming and cold. I told them during a meeting, and they brushed me off and said they were very inviting and it's the newcomers' problem. They couldn't see that. Last I'd heard, the church was close to being foreclosed on, since they couldn't pay their bills after their older, wealthier parishioners started to pass away. Oof, wow, substantial pledge. That is some literal holier-than-thou bullshit. My dad is an angry dude. He's been to court-ordered anger management a few times. Has been kicked out of places a lot of times. So there are way too many instances to list. I'll tell a couple though. Once we were out to eat. Our waitress looked at my baby sister and made a comment about how cute she is. Dad flips the fuck out. Started screaming about how he didn't say she could look at his baby. We were asked to leave. Another one that sticks out is on Christmas. My parents are divorced and the custody order said we had to go back to my mom's house at a certain time. That time rolled around. We reminded our dad and he starts yelling about how we're dumb cunts. Fun times growing up. My dad was never quite like that in public, but he had his moments. The one I remember clearly was a family trip to Walmart when I was younger. Some dude cut us off as we were leaving, then proceeded to drive next to us yelling profanities. So, my dad, yelling and cursing this entire time, tells the guy to park. The guy does, and my dad throws the car in park and immediately jumps out. A fight is going to happen. We see this, but the guy who cut us off was not prepared for the can of whoop-ass he had opened. My dad is already to his door as the guy starts to climb out, and instead of letting the guy have a fair fight, my dad kicks the car door against the guy's leg and reaches in through the window to grab him by the collar. For the next minute or so, we just see my dad wailing on this dude through his window. Then, calmly, my dad gets back in our car and we drive off. Edit. I keep seeing people saying what my dad was cheap or dirty or any variation of that, which is true. But the question is, what do you expect? Should he have allowed the man to get out of the car? What does that gain him? If you know you're about to get in a fight, why would you throw away a clear advantage? This sounds like almost every Russian dash scam video. Greater than my parents are divorced. I am shocked. Thank you so much for watching and have a good day.